Hey guys, it's Ruby and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I have convinced Nina from Fancy Footwork Poles and Grids to come and give us some help with the pole work, really. Because I'm a typical dressage rider. I don't understand distances whatsoever. And any of that type, anything with a jump or a pole involved, not for me. So I really want to, it's really good educational session, because I really think poles are a good way, for the horses to have, a nice time. It varies the work a bit. So today in this vlog we have Nalina, my 7-year-old, who's a little bit younger. And then also Goldstrike, my schoolmaster, who I actually did a Grand Prix on earlier this week. So we've got two different, variety of horses. So yeah, can't wait to learn about distances.
Okay, fab. I mean, pole work is for everybody, all horses of all levels, shape, sizes. We can get benefits from pole work. We can do lots of things with pole work to sort of help them both physically and mentally. I love the mental side of it, that they have to really sort of like use their brain to work out how they're getting through the poles and the challenges that we put out. So it's sort of a bit like a questions from us and an answer sort of session from them. But yeah, we can do lots. We can sort of help to improve their balance and their rhythm, and we can influence their stride length and the height of their stride. We can do so much with pole. It's magic.
Can't wait.
Okay, bring it on.
So the first volunteer for today is Nalina, my 7-year-old, and we have only done poles once in her life. She's a typical dressage horse. So it's going to be very interesting. When we did our poles, we were very unsuccessful. She didn't quite know what her legs were doing and where they were supposed to go. So I'm very excited. Today's session is going to be really good, because it's like the lengthening and the shortening of the stride. So I'm very excited. I've also got my stone colour from Lemure on today, the little collection. I'm absolutely loving it, and I've recently started wearing Lemure's leggings and I love it so much. They are so comfy and yes, perfect for the poles. She's not very impressed. She's not looking very excited. Some could say she's looking a bit concerned. We're gonna be okay. We're gonna hold each other's hands. We're both dressage. We're just gonna hold each other's hands. Mwah. And we. She's actually feeling really fresh, which is nice, but it's kind of a pray to the Lord moment.
Hello, darling. Hi. Hello. So, Ruby, who's this?
So this is Nalina.
I should know, Nalina, shouldn't I? I should know, because you're just beautiful.
She's my sweetest young girl. She's the sweetest horse ever, but she's one of those who kind of does before she thinks, if that makes sense. So she doesn't think before she does. She does before she thinks.
Sounds like my husband.
Yeah,
exactly. Oh no, I'm in a little bit of trouble now.
Typical man. But I think it's really good doing poles. I also desensitises her, which is nice.
Absolutely,
and she's one of those I want to do a bit of everything on. It's so good for her.
Nice. Okay, yeah, brilliant.
So yeah, it's always when I'm riding her, it's getting her mind focused. She always needs to be doing something. She hates just being stood still or walking walking. She always wants to be doing something, so it's really good.
So she's got a busy brain.
Yeah, she wants to be engaged. She wants to work hard, which is a good thing until it comes to walking. So yeah.
Amazing. Well, pole work is brilliant for sort of like really focusing their brain and just sort of making them focus on one thing rather than sort of being distracted by the outside environment or other things going on. It's really, really good to, like I say, we sort of give them this problem to solve, and once they learn how to solve the problem, they really enjoy it. They really enjoy using their brain and things. So brilliant. Okay, fabulous. So Ruby, you're all warmed up, ready to go, which is a really important thing. It's really important that the horses are correctly warmed up before we do pole work, just because it's quite a strenuous sort of activity for them. So even there, see her walking between the poles. So you've said before that she hasn't done a huge amount of pole work.
Yeah.
So even just walking between the poles like you just did there is brilliant for her, because she's having to assess the size of the gap that she's moving into and walk between them. So it's something called spatial awareness that we're working on there. So you're giving her little problems to solve already without even knowing that you're giving her problems.
Yeah.
So all things like that, you know, the more things that she can do like this, the more confident that she can get working. It's not necessarily always working over poles. Sometimes it's working between poles that's really beneficial. So we've got I wouldn't expect obviously everybody to have this many poles that we've got here today. And people don't need to be fooled into thinking that you need a huge amount of poles to have a successful pole work session. You can do you've literally 3 or 4 poles, and you can get like a square or a triangle and do multiple things with that shape. But we've got quite a big layout here today. So we've got a mix between the shapes, so the distances in the shapes are made up by the length of the pole. Okay, so we've got this square here. All the poles that I use are 3 meter poles, and you know that they're 3 meter poles because you literally take 3 big strides along them. So you can normally get poles 3 meter or 4 meter, but for the shapes that I'm using today, 3 meter poles work really well. So we've got a mixture between shapes and then lines of poles, and lots of people know lines of poles. It's a little bit more of a sort of a traditional take on pole work. It's brilliant, it's really beneficial for the horses, it's great for helping them with their balance and helping them achieve a rhythm. But it can also get a little bit repetitive for them. Once they learn sort of the stride length in between them, they can switch off a little bit. Whereas with the shapes, they have to just work a little bit harder, so it's a little bit more technical for them. So because she hasn't done a huge amount of pole work, we're going to just start off just on a nice easy line for her. So we're going to be using this square here, and then we're going to be using the 2 poles on either side that have got the pink centres. So you're literally just going to come off the right rein and walk over
straight over the middle.
Poles, and then onto the left rein and over the other diagonal. Okay. They work harder in the walk than they do in the trot and the canter, because there's no sort of real lift and elevation to the walk like there is in trot and canter. Good girl.
Yeah.
So they have to use muscular effort to get over. Good girl. So don't be frightened. Sort of if she knocks them, is absolutely fine. It's really not a problem at all. We don't want to reprimand them or anything like that for knocking the poles. This is sort of like a new skill that she's starting to learn today. So she is allowed to make mistakes. It's really not a problem at all. So you're thinking about keeping her nice and straight on the approach, keeping her as straight as possible for as long as possible before that first pole. Good girl, well done. So we're just going to repeat those lines again. So why don't you just trot round and walk, make a walk transition just before your first pole of this line. So give her plenty of time to see what it is that she has to do. Very good. Well done. Super.
Come on, you got it.
Good girl. Lovely. That's okay. Good girl. And then again, trot round, make a walk transition just before the next pole. So every time we introduce anything new, we always do it in walk first, so she has time to see and understand the question that we're asking, and also that she has time, good girl, to work out how she's getting through.
Good girl.
Okay, let's repeat this in trot. Okay.
Oh, here we go.
So I like the horses to do as much of the work as possible, as much of the thinking as possible. So if you set her up in just a nice trot, nothing too big, nothing too fancy, and just let her get on with the job. Good girl, well done, super, give her a little scratch. She just has to work out how she's getting through. So at the minute we can obviously see that she's a little bit hesitant, and that's completely normal. Completely to be expected. So your job is just to keep her straight. Good girl, let's just keep coming through these two lines. Just want her straight. Good girl, good girl, that's fine. On the long side for her. Good girl, well done. Let's just come one more time each way. Good girl.
Good.
Good girl, well done, super. So just one more time down this next line, Ruby, and then we're gonna move on to something different. Walk distance, so it doesn't really matter where you go so much in the walk, that's fine, good girl. And then again, we're gonna trot round, walk just before you get to the first pole, and then we'll come again in the walk. Yeah, super.
Good girl.
Good girl, that's okay, well done, come again. We're just going to come, we'll keep coming on like a figure of eight, we'll come off one rein and on to the next, okay? Yeah. So this again, we know that horses don't have the best eyesight in the world.
Yeah.
And if you look from her point of view, we've got like this 3 metre focal point, and then we're going down to something that's just a few centimetres. So there's every likelihood she might get a little bit wobbly through here. So just trying to keep her as straight as you can coming through, and again, changing the rein each time, okay?
And this one's a good one, especially for her adjusting and figuring out her own strides.
Absolutely,
as well.
Yeah, very much so, yes, because we've got this big shape that's not a set sort of stride pattern. So yeah, this is down to her to work out how she's getting through. That's a good girl. So again, straight as we can for as long as we can, keep her straight. Clever girl, that's fine. Yeah, very nice coming out, good girl. Very specific line. Yeah, lovely. Clever girl. So you can see that she's getting more confident with the striding now. We're not getting quite so much up. We're getting sort of a slightly more regulated stride length. Okay, so Ruby, now that we've done that exercise on both reins, and she's coping really nicely with it, let's just challenge her a little bit more, and we're going to start turning down the centre line from C, and she's going to walk over everything that's in front of her, okay? So this is a much bigger question now, because when she turns down that centre line, there's going to be a lot in front of her. So again, we just want to be able to just let her take her time. If you're ever on a horse and it stops in front of a pole, just allow it just to work out the question that we're asking. So just let her take her time with it. Just focus on keeping her straight. Good girl. And then we want her to do the main bulk of the work. Good girl, well done, super. Yep, good. Excellent. And then we've got this cheeky triangle at the end, so really keep straight through the point. Beautiful job, well ridden. So change the rein, and then maybe we'll walk down the long side rather than trot, because there's a car there. Letting her work out the question in front of her. Good girl, well done. So we want as little sort of as little input from the rider as possible. So the more that the rider does, the less the horse has to do thinking wise.
Yeah.
Are you happy to do this in trot?
Yeah.
Okay. Stunning, gorgeous. This does not look like the same horse that we started with, does it?
No, not at all.
That was absolutely beautiful. Make a real fuss of her.
Good girl.
Clever girl. So we had no flamboyance and extravagance at all. She was just like, right, okay, focus.
Got it, yeah.
And getting a good turn, getting her straight. So you're doing your job, which is presenting her in a good pace on a good line. Wow. Oh my goodness, Ruby, that was so gorgeous. Does it feel nice?
Yeah.
If we've set poles up to canter over them, we can walk and trot through those poles as well. So the distances won't be perfect for walk and trot, but they will be perfect for canter, but you can still walk and trot through them. Again, it just gives the horse a slightly different sort of more problem to solve, working out how to get through. If we've set poles up for trot, we can walk and trot through them, but if we've set poles up with a walk distance, you can only walk through them. Okay, so walk poles with a small distance, that is walk only. Trot poles with a slightly bigger distance, that's walk and trot. Canter poles with an even bigger distance, that's walk, trot and canter. So for lots of the shapes that we use for pole work, we're using the length of the pole to make the shape, like for this diamond, this square and the triangle that we saw at the end of the line. So they're really quite simple and quite straightforward to do. They're a brilliant place to start doing pole work using these shapes, because you don't need to worry about the distance between the poles, because like I just said, the length of the poles makes up the shape anyway. And you can do lots of different things within those shapes as well. For a square and a triangle, you can walk and trot and canter through them. You can do curving lines through them. You can do circles through them. You can do transitions inside the shape, lots of things. But also it is important to know your horse's stride length and know how far apart to put poles that are sort of standalone poles, the poles that aren't attached by a shape. So what we're looking for here, so with these 3 poles, for example, what we're looking for is for the horse's feet to land midway between the poles. So if the horse goes over the poles and it lands too close to the next pole in the sequence, it means that that distance is too short for the horse. And if the horse goes over a pole and it lands too close to the pole it's just gone over, it means that that distance is too long for the horse. So the easiest way to find your horse's length of stride is to get a friend and get them to film you trotting over 3 poles in a line, 3 or 4 poles in a line, and what you're looking for is for the horse lands evenly between the distance between the poles, so it lands in the center of the distance between the poles. And then once you've done that several times on each rein, you can just tweak the distance between the poles, make it a little shorter or a little longer, and once your horse is consistently coming through and landing in the middle of the poles, then you've found your distance. And then what you need to do to make sure you get the same distance every time you set up after, you're just going to use your feet, and all you're going to do is walk heel to toe steps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for Nalina, she works really well on 5 steps between the poles. So you would just keep building in 5 steps and 5 steps, and that would mean that she's going over the poles, and every time she puts a pair of feet on the floor, she's going over a pole. So here she goes over 1, 2, 3. Now this distance is bigger. So in this distance, she comes over the last pole, and then she takes a clear stride of trot before she goes over the next pole in the sequence. And all you're going to do to get that distance where it's 1 clear stride of trot is just to double up your normal distance. So if she's putting 5 heel to toe steps in here, we're going to make sure that we put 10 heel to toe steps in this bigger distance.
Right, so we're now on to Goldstrike. I think everyone knows this Ginger Ninja. He's the schoolmaster of the yard. He's actually done quite a bit of poles and stuff in the past. I don't think he's ever done a grid like this. And it'll be interesting, a lot of the times he forgets where his legs are. So it'll be interesting to see if he actually remembers he has legs today. So what kind of setup are we looking at now?
So it's similar in some ways to what we had before, but we've added in a few more sort of difficult elements. We've got some much more sort of curving lines that we can come through on serpentines. We've got lines where we can come on a really sort of like acute line. So before, where we had accuracy lines with Nalina, it was a much shorter line, whereas this time we're going to come through, and having come through a lot of poles, and we're then going to put a real sort of accuracy question on the end, and then if he behaves himself, we'll do some canter poles as well.
Amazing. So like, I guess for those who are watching, beforehand was a bit more of a basic setup, and now this is moving on to a little bit more advanced, would you say?
Absolutely. Yeah, so this one, like I say, it looks similar, but it's definitely slightly more technical. It's got a few more questions to it, but again, sort of going back to what I said earlier, you don't need to have this many poles at all. You could just pick any, just sort of like one element of this, one of the shapes, and just sort of have that set up in your school and work over that. It doesn't need to be as extravagant as this, but we like to be a bit extra.
Goldstrike likes that too.
We like extra. Okay, right, should we crack on?
Yeah, let's do it.
Brilliant. Good boy, that's fine.
I told you to get through his legs.
Just come through one more time, just so he's nailed those, and we keep him nice and confident. Good boy, well done.
We're off. We're off to see the wizard. The wonderful wizard was.
So thinking about your line, thinking about where we're going. So just following.
Feels like I am following
the little green path through there now.
Good lad.
Good. Well done. Super.
Concentration.
Yeah. So we're just changing the bend coming through here, which is a far more difficult thing. Which
Grand Prix just has a lot of movements and not a very big school.
Super. Good boy.
Good boy. Remember your legs on.
Keep him.
Good lad.
Good boy. Well done. So just keep that trot just a little bit more swinging forwards. That's good.
There.
Good boy, well done.
That was better, wasn't it?
That trot there would be a better trot if we can get that. Okay, let's come again. But it's difficult because we're coming off a curving line into a really, really narrow focal point off a short approach. Good. There we go, good. Lovely. Fabulous, good job.
You do one tempies up to it and out of it. Ooh,
good boy, that's okay, so come again. I love how he does a little show off trot after. So keep that canter just a little bit less dressage, a little bit more working canter. Keep coming, Ruby. That's it, so just keep that canter. Good boy.
Okay.
That's all right. So come back again.
Ooh.
You need to think slightly less dressage canter for just purely for this exercise, and a fraction more. Imagine him going back sort of like 2 or 3 steps.
Okay. Would we go light seat to help? Because
you can go light seat to help.
Because I feel like I'm a bit like.
Yep, you can do if you want to. Good boy. Earlier or a little later. There you go. Now quiet. There we go.
Yes.
Clever boy.
I'm in control of my Grand Prix horse.
His left hind leg was literally up under his belly. It was like, I know to do something with this leg, but I can't quite work out what it is.
Oh, Goldstrike.
Introduce it again. We're always just gonna take things slowly and dissect things so that he knows exactly what we expect of him. And remember, walking over poles is so beneficial for them that no time walking over poles is wasted. So think about it's a really acute turn. Think about looking up, looking for that turn, putting him straight through the corner. Yeah, fabulous, good job. And then just trot down the long side again, Ruby. Find his way down here. There's lots for him to look at. There's lots of problems for him to solve, lots of little puzzles. So your focus is doing as little as possible, but just keeping him straight, letting him find his way down. Good boy. Fab, well done. And then change the rein, Ruby. And then we'll trot down the long side. Good boy. Well done. Yeah, super. Yeah, good boy.
Good boy.
Fab. Ruby, are you happy to come in trot the next time? So we're thinking rhythm and straightness. Now that he's cantered, the trot will be bigger.
Oh my God.
Like that.
Turning. Oh God.
Good boy, give him a pat. Well in the background. Lovely, keep straight. Good boy. Keep him forward. Yeah.
So I can't believe how difficult, you know, pole work is, definitely for the rider's mind. You know, I had to engage my mind, let alone Goldstrike. And it's so good for them, you know, to look for different lines, have to adjust their strides and stuff. I mean, even Goldstrike as a Grand Prix horse was a bit like, what am I doing?
It gets their brains going.
But yeah, no, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me. An absolute pleasure.
And I hope you guys enjoyed this YouTube video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Love ya. Bye.